All right. Welcome to the very first and what may very well be the last episode of KZPT audio for 2021. It's been a long time coming for me to do this. It's been an absolute turbulent time in Melbourne, and I'm so excited to talk to everyone. Today, I really want to speak to the ladies, and I want to talk to the people that have been suffering throughout this time, but also want to move forward right now and actually change and get back into the gyms and take control of their lives and stay strong. So this is who I'm talking to today. I want to go through a few scenarios with some amazing coaches today. We're going to have Miranda Grace Lang, who we have already had on the podcast once before, and she absolutely nailed it and spoke a lot about mental health and what it takes to change the body. And we also have a new up-and-coming personal trainer from Broadmeadows, Melbourne, which I'm super excited to have on, Ayla. She is an awesome female personal trainer that is doing so well at the moment as far as giving out real personable and useful advice through socials, and even the stuff she is bringing out is changing the way that I think about fitness, and especially since I knew her before she even took this leap into getting into personal training to now making myself change and change the way I think. I'm so excited to talk to them. So stay on and let's see what they have to say and help everyone out there who's looking to transition back out of this into hopefully what is for good in Melbourne, out of lockdown and back into gyms. Stay tuned. Good morning, Miranda.
Hello, good morning.
How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, getting out on your walk, which is exactly what KZPT audio is all about. I love it.
Yes, got to get those steps in, get moving.
Perfect, I love that. So Ayla should be coming in any minute now. I just wanted to also speak to you before. So obviously we've had you on the podcast before, which I think you absolutely nailed. We really spoke a lot more down to the mental health side of things when it comes to fitness and especially competing and things like that. So thank you so much for coming on again. And I'm really excited to go through a lot of the things that we are going to talk about today and a lot of the scenarios. There she is.
Thanks for having me again.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
We're both walking. We're both walking.
Oh,
I love
awesome!
I feel like I get more energy when I'm like walking. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that for today.
Oh, good minds. I had the same thing.
Love that.
It is so much easier to talk when your body's doing something else and be able to let ideas flow freely. And that's a lot of how I did a lot of my first KZPT audios. So yes, thank you so much both for coming on board. So as I was saying, Miranda, we've obviously had you on before, spoke a lot about competing, the mental health side of things, and I really want to get that perspective from today. But we do have someone new here. We have Coach Tayla, who I'm super excited to introduce to the KZPT team and everyone who listens on board at the moment. I've known Tayla for quite a while now. We've known her for about a few years, 4 years, 5 years. And
Yeah.
used to actually chat before she made the leap into personal training. And as I was saying in the intro, a lot of the things that you're bringing out now on social media and how you talk to your clients even changes the way that I think about, fitness and how to actually bring it across to clients. So it's so awesome to have you on board and to hopefully help a lot of the ladies out there who are looking to just make sure they feel their strongest self. Thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So look, I really want to keep this one a little bit shorter, sweeter than my usual ones. So we're going to get straight into it. And essentially today marks something special for all three of us who work in Melbourne. Obviously next week is a very exciting time. We got some gyms opening up. We got work going back to normal. And I think there's both sides of that where there's a lot of excitement and a lot of just happiness to get back out into the world, but there is of course a lot of anxiety and a lot of emotions in general going into how we feel about ourselves socially, how we feel about our bodies and what actual damage have we done throughout these lockdowns, and what is the best plan of attack? Do we go 100% day one back in the gyms? Do we take a break and ease back into it? Should these people have a coach? We're going to go through scenarios that essentially I have spoken to a lot of people that are going through this personally. It's not just one individual, there's many people, and I'm sure for you girls reading through some of these scenarios already that you've heard a lot of these terms before, you've heard a lot of these things. So I'm really excited to get your perspective on it, and not just help the ladies, but help myself in how to approach some of these situations.
Yes.
Awesome.
Definitely.
So we're going to go straight into scenario one. We have Bree, who's a 25-year-old female. She's put on around 5 to 8 kilos during the lockdowns. She bought a gym membership, but barely uses it, did some group classes a few years ago. She was never really an avid gym goer. She's not super confident when it comes to weightlifting or things like that. And she's working full-time from home since the lockdowns have begun. So that's where she put on her 5 to 8 kilos. She loves socializing, going out, but really wants to feel good for summer. She does not feel confident and comfortable in the body that she's in at the moment. She really wants to get that back, and she wants to just overall feel better so that when she goes out, sees her friends, it's a confident place. She feels happy. She says a lot of things like, I really want to lose the weight, but nothing is working. I do really good for a few days and then I crash, and I don't feel comfortable lifting weights. I don't see the purpose of them. So taking all of that into account, is there anything that jumped out to you or jumps out to you now that you would want to address straight away?
Yes, 100%. I reckon, look, our bodies react to the way we feel. So if we're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to look a certain way or feel a certain way, we're creating a whole heap of stress. So you've got the cortisol happening. So it would be obviously like managing her stress levels and getting her to feel a little bit more of herself before like going right in there. So it's like managing stress levels and then obviously like getting her activity back up, because I feel like working from home, you don't realize how much activity is taken away. Like, I don't know about you guys, but sitting at home on a laptop, like I look at my watch, I'm like, oh, yep, should probably go do some steps. I've done like 500 to the fridge. But yeah, that's my first initial thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. A lot of it starts, and this is something that I really want to get into, that a lot of it starts with the mind, and a lot of it starts with how you feel about yourself, not just your physical body, but you know, the kind of emotions that are going in, and tackling that early and tackling that alongside the physical transformation can be, I think, is the only way to do this successfully and be able to keep it up long term. Ayla, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, 100%. Like I agree with the points that Miranda made when it comes to, you know, the changes that have been made in your lifestyle. Like being sedentary at home will have a huge impact on, you know, the energy balance, I guess, that you had before. Prior to lockdowns, you might have been a bit more active, and then now coming into lockdown and staying at home, you know, there's a massive shift there, and it's quite you know, easy to put on the weight quite quickly if she put, you know, 5 to 8 kilos on. However, I think the first thing I would address with her is actually helping her understand this. So it's like coming from a place of, you know, understanding and being a bit compassionate of like, hey, look, we were actually in a, you know, a lockdown, a pandemic. It is obviously stressful, and, you know, I guess you surviving that in itself is reassuring, and helping her understand that, you know, that you can put weight on quite easily if your energy requirements are like, you change, you're not actually as active anymore. And so helping her understand that first, so then, okay, then we can, from there, what can we do to increase your activity levels? What can we do from there? And I think that might be important to help her understand. And also her, like, helping her reassure, like, what's the next plan of attack that we can take when the gyms do start to open up again. Like, if she's got 1 hour and a break of the day, it's like, look, maybe we can do some steps during that time, even if it is for 10 to 15 minutes, just making it like really manageable. You know, even if she had put on quite substantial weight, it's like, does she necessarily have to lose the 5 to 8 kilos straight away, even though she put it on, you know, perhaps quickly, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. I love that. And
yeah.
And that's sort of where I was getting with that, you know, because 5 to 8 kilos, you know, that is an amount that you would feel the differences with putting on that weight. Like, that's enough. I've put on that amount of weight before, and you feel that in the joints and just like overall sluggishness, and it doesn't feel good mentally either. So, you know, wanting to get rid of that, I think, is not get rid of it, but, you know, wanting to manage that is something that I think is very reasonable for someone like this. And I think bringing up that plan of attack and being like, okay, so it took 18 months, you know, for this change to happen and for your body to change there. And now it's about being able to shift the priorities and being able to plan that little bit ahead. So, you know, I always try and break it down into 1 week to 2 week intervals. You know, if you try and think about it as a very long term, and it's like, you know, we're going to be doing four week plans. So we're going to work together for 16 weeks, 4 months of your life. And, you know, we're going to get rid of all this weight and it feels good. And that feels awesome, I think, in the early stages of it, because there's such a plan going ahead. But sometimes a lot of those details in the day can get lost. You know, in this stage, when we're going back through that transition, just focusing on those daily habits, like you said, walking on the lunch break, and doing that kind of thing, I think can break down a lot of those things. And once you take that one step forward and you open yourself up to doing something that didn't feel natural, whether it was going for a walk or making that healthy breakfast you've been thinking about for a very long time, even if you only do it once, it's enough to start that habit and give that feel-good feeling of, I didn't really want to do this, but I did it anyway because I love my body and I'm on a journey to love my body even more. So
yes, 100%.
Yeah, and that's where my mind goes with it. So Miranda, for someone who, let's say that, so they bought a gym membership, barely used it, and gyms are about to reopen, her membership's about to be reinstated. Do you see, when she comes to you, when Bree comes to you and she asks, I want to change this, I'm willing to train like 5 days a week right now, I'm going to get back in starting on Monday, just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. What sort of things would be coming to your mind?
Obviously, like, as well, like, our bodies are like a petrol tank, so it's not overexerting her when we first go back to the gym either. So it's kind of taking those baby steps into coming back in the gym and getting her to feel quite good again. And I don't know about any of you, but I know if I haven't trained properly in a little while and I go to the gym, the next day I'm really quite sore. So that's why I always recommend kind of baby steps into things. So I'd guide her through when the gym's open, and then little by little each week would introduce more days as she's starting to build up her energy stores. Her hormones are starting to get a little bit better, cortisol is going down, eating a lot better. It's just like a gradual kind of process until she's feeling more like herself again. And then obviously as you feel yourself again, you want to do more. So yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, and letting those habits build up over time and starting with those little ones. You know, I always ask people that come in with those big ambitions, you know, where it's been a long period of time where they've been unhappy with the amount of exercise they're doing and how they've been feeling. And they want to come in and feel like from day one, it's like, I'm working really hard and things are moving extremely quickly and I'm on top of the world. And
yes,
I think a big part of our jobs as coaches is about minimizing that crash that can come from that mentality, you know, and trying
Yes,
to,
and it's like they're
yeah, you know, and trying to bring it to a point where they're able to still go in every day. And, you know, and it's almost like they see as going to the gym once that week. So let's say from Monday to Friday, they went to the gym once. They see that as an achievement and not as something to be looked down upon because they only went once. I'm like, you went once, like that's amazing, you know. And there's so many different ways to look at it. And I think that mentality side of it, you know, can help with the longevity of getting to that, because let's face it, 5 to 8 kilos is going to take quite a while to bring down, especially if you're doing it in a way where number one, you're very new to weights. So, you know, you're not able to just straight away add on a lot of weights and just go really hard and do all of those things. You know, where you have something going on where you can stick to something for a couple of days, but then it crashes, and then you stick to it again, it goes up and it crashes. If you found that this has been a problem so far, you have to be able to think about that now and think about how you're going to combat that, not just think it's going to be different this time. Yeah. So Ayla as well, now that, let's say, for example, they've been working from home and they're going to continue working from home.
Yeah.
When it comes to gym training and trying to get in there,
yeah,
let's put it straight out. How often do you think someone like this should train with a personal trainer?
I think it honestly depends on where they actually see themselves going, and being a bit realistic of that. Obviously, with the guidance of a personal trainer, like with ourselves, we're like, hey, you know, we're not gonna lose the 8 kilos straight away, but just being open and honest about, okay, what do you realistically feel like you can do, and where do you see yourself? Okay, say you can only train 3 days a week. Great, let's start with a 3-day program. Oh, you want to push to 4? Great, let's do a 4-day program. And then obviously as a coach, you would adjust the program based on, you know, their needs and, you know, the frequency there. So I think it just really, you can, I guess, recommend what you would think would be ideal. But then again, it's the client that what they feel like they can actually commit to as well. And then if starting less is better for now, like let's just say 3 days a week, okay, you work Monday to Friday, how about you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Do you feel like that's achievable? On the other days, potentially you could get more steps in so it can average it out, so it doesn't seem like it's too much, and helping them, I guess, understand how these things work and the principles and how they can still achieve those results without going 100% every single day. But I think honestly, it really comes down to what the person or the client sees themselves and is like, is this something that I really want? And like paving the way that's really realistic for them. Because I think a lot of people, like you guys were saying before, it's like they want to do 100%, like smash themselves straight away as soon as the gym opens up. And it's like, hold on, did you put that 8 kilos on in a week? No, it took time, it compounded. You know, those decisions that you made every single day compounded into you, I guess, gaining weight. Is that a bad thing? Like, it's not necessarily you have to, you know, feel overly stressed about it. It's like, okay, well, use that same mindset to tackle the next, you know, 4, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, and have that, have the same mindset and just being, you know, realistic with what they feel like they can do. And then obviously your guidance and input, and then just building that foundation from there, and then potentially moving up to 4 days or 5 days a week. That's how I would tackle it.
That sounds awesome. And yeah, you know, starting from as I sort of touched on before, you know, I think starting early as where any step that is in the right direction and any step that you have taken that is going to better you and, you know, makes you feel like you are taking better care of your body. And that can be done in so many ways. It can be done through hitting 2.5 liters worth of water every day. It can come from actually hitting 8 hours worth of sleep. It can come from saying no to Macca's drive-through when you go through with your partner and you just saying, you know what, I actually don't want it. It can be literally anything, and just being able to recognize those parts as wins and allow that to feed those happy hormones and those hormones that make you feel good when you achieve something, and let that fester and let yourself come above that and be able to change. I think that is the way to keep going, and to be able to do this for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, which is how long it takes to, I guess, get to that next level stage of, physique and body, if that's something that you aspire to. But realistically, and this is a question I'm going to put out to both of you. So obviously, I think including myself, I think everyone has a little bit of, we're very emotional in the sense that I want to be able to look the best I can for this summer. Me as a person want it now also. I want to change my body. I want to lose 5 kilos by December and Christmas so that I look good when I start to go out and see everybody. I want that. But realistically, let's say we have the next 6 to 8 weeks, which will bring us to the end of the year. And you can take this in any way that you want, but what is a realistic amount of weight to lose during that time? Let's start with Miranda, sorry.
It obviously depends on the person, their frame, how they're built and everything. So everyone's going to lose weight differently according to their genetics and everything.
Of course.
But for the average person that's doing it right, eating right food, so aren't obviously like eating nothing, they're still eating, they're training, in that 6 to 8 week period, I think, look, 5 kilos for someone like myself is probably a nice sweet spot, because it's not enough to degrade our iron stores, the way we feel. We're not going to get chronic fatigue because we're feeding our bodies the right stuff. We're exercising, so our endorphins are pumping through correctly. And so I just feel like 5 kilos is probably a nice happy medium throughout that.
I love that. I would pretty much agree with that. Ayla, what do you think?
Yeah, I think 5 kilos is definitely achievable. Obviously, depending on the person, usually someone who has a bit more higher body fat percentage could potentially lose a little bit more. And, if you are someone, I think it just really depends on, screening the client, because a lot of people say that they want to lose weight, but then it's like the underlying habits of their eating, sleep and training is not really promoting that. Are you in the right stage to start this deficit, or are you in the right stage to actually start dieting? And I think, yes, dieting can obviously help us look better if that's our goal, to be leaner, but it's sometimes glamorized, oh, okay, summer, diet, let's shred down. And I think that in itself can put a lot of pressure onto people unconsciously, whether they're not even thinking about it. It's like, oh, summer's around the corner, I need to lean down. And that's just the culture that, I guess, whether it's social media's built or the fitness culture. And then, it's just basically being realistic, and is this really what you want right now? You just finished a lockdown. Do you feel like you want to, because dieting is stressful too. Yeah, we need to be considerate of that. It's imagine, a year and nearly 2 years worth of high stress levels, and now we're going to do something a bit more stressful. And some people go the other end and they haven't been eating actually a lot due to the stress, and it's but I want to lose weight, I feel fluffy. It's hold on, you basically haven't been eating for 2 years. That's probably not the best situation to do right now, or the best protocol to go in a diet. So me honestly, I have to be open and honest with the client, and screen them properly, and help them understand if that's what they want, or do you feel like that's what society wants you to do right now because it's summer?
Yes.
That's honestly the way I would go about it.
That is some great insight, and you both took that to both sides of the table, where it's pull and pull, because there is that genetic side where it's like your body can only lose so much, and there's an upper limit to that and there's a lower limit to that. There's someone that we could get two separate ladies that, eat the exact same amount and train the same and do the same workouts and get the same amount of sleep and do the same steps, and their results
look completely different.
Completely.
100%.
They will look, one person will, come out with nice abs and, feeling great. And another person might lose 2 kilos and see virtually no difference. And that is a very hard thing for that person. It's sad, and I've been in that situation. I'm sure others have, but at the same time, there is that other pull on the road, which is effort. And are you willing to put in that effort? Are you willing to actually take away, and sacrifice potentially, some social situations and sacrifice certain foods that you love or anything like that? Are you willing to make those sacrifices and put in the effort, turn up to the gym 4 days a week to create the things that you're talking about that you want? And it's a very hard conversation to have, because most people, until you've actually, and this is something that's very hard to, I guess, talk about, because there's also a big part of it where you don't really know what it takes until you've done it.
Yeah.
Right? Once you've lost the weight and you've done it and you've gotten to a place where you genuinely feel comfortable within your own skin, then it gets very easy from there, because then you can put on 5 kilos and tell yourself you're bulking and feel amazing about yourself. You can lose 10 kilos and, with ease, and just be like, I'm shredding, and you're just happy in whatever the way your body looks, because you have this inherent appreciation for your body and you are proud of what your body's been able to do. And I think that's where a lot of people like yourselves, a lot of bodybuilders and coaches and stuff like that, that's more the place that they've gotten to. It's not that they always look amazing and have 6-pack abs all year round. It's because they've gotten to a place where body positivity is a good thing for them. And there's that healthy level of critique on your own body where you want to change it and you have goals to change your body, but it's not overtaking you where you don't trust yourself to be able to change the situation. I don't know if all of that
you're like,
sense, but yeah.
No, it completely makes sense, because it's making it a lifestyle, and it's just like, I am happy and I'm proud of every aspect of my body's journey. I'm happy feeling a little bit fluffier, and I'm also happier being leaner, but it's not being happy at one phase. It's being happy throughout the whole journey. Yes.
Perfect.
I think what you pointed out as well is that you did kind of clarify what your goal was. Like you said, if you put weight on, you're bulking. So that's something that you can expect, and helping you understand that, you're going to be putting on weight. Obviously you want to favor more muscle building than fat, but you will expect to build fat. And then when you're losing weight or you're in a fat loss phase, what do you expect from there? And then understanding the trade-offs, from either, you probably have more energy in a building phase. And so trying to count that as a win, even though in a fat loss phase, you might be leaner and that looks great, but there's a trade-off of, potentially low energy. So it's just understanding what your goal is, and then the expectations that you will experience as well in those particular phases, and then embracing those. So, it's not a one destination of your, what the outcome of your body looks like is when you'll be happy. It's understanding what are the positives of each phase that you decide to do, so that you're, like you were saying before, is you're constantly making wins, and that's driving you to be happy and to be compliant. And I think a lot of people do struggle with that. They wait till they achieve a certain look to be happy. And that's definitely not going to be the case, because you can still lose weight. And, if you haven't really addressed what's going inside, or what's actually causing that, then you can still lose 10 kilos and still not be happy.
And feel I totally agree with that. It's fixing what's going on mentally, internally, and being happy with fixing that before feeling like it is a visual thing. You can look the best but feel the worst still.
Absolutely.
I think our bodies like cop a lot from what goes inside mentally. It's like the scapegoat of if we're not feeling good inside, it's like, oh, our body doesn't look good, so that's why I'm feeling sad. You don't like wake up one day and then you just hate your body. It comes from somewhere. It's like, I think a lot of people, as much as you want to work on your physical body, you can't really neglect your emotional or mindset or the things that are holding you back, because they will catch up on you even in that physical journey. Like when you start training, it does help build your self-confidence, because you're doing the things you said you want to do. That's what actually helps, I think, helps us have self-confidence, is because we're actually taking action. Whereas if we're not, then we're going to have that self-doubt. And I think based in these lockdowns as well, why a lot of people are scared or fearful or anxious is because they haven't done what's needed for them to feel that happiness. I guess it's the actions that they take daily that they haven't been doing, and that's what's creating the fear and doubt. And it's like, it's not necessarily the weight loss that you might achieve in the 8 weeks. It's actually just getting back into it, because that drives compliance, that drives self-belief and your confidence.
Yeah.
That was really, really well said. And, I do want to move on to scenario 2, but, I think a lot of what you said there makes so much sense. And it makes so much sense. And I really can't wait to, I guess, it's a big part of changing that narrative and being able to genuinely chase other goals other than a number on the scales. That is more a tool to measure another form of progress, and being able to look for something else, so that not everything, because as we know, and I've said on this podcast, and I've seen both of you say it multiple times, that the scale is affecting way more than just how much fat you're holding. It's reflecting, every decision that you're making throughout the day. So it's a tool, it's a good tool to look at averages and to keep moving and to take daily or weekly or however works well for you. But being able to move forward, I think, is changing that scope and, actually making goals that you can control. I'm going to do this. And like you said, Ayla, I think was said really well, we need to say we need to do what we said we were going to do. And that is where a lot of that happiness comes from, as far as with your self-confidence and body, is because you are doing what you said that would make you happy. And then you go out and do it. And then what do you know? You feel happy. And it's a process of, those things genuinely are good for you, but also you said you were going to do it and you did it.
Exactly.
And that it straight away, releases so many good feelings inside you.
Yeah, 100%. It's like having that self-integrity as well. And I think, when we value something, especially in our, fitness or health, if we value it and we're not doing the things that we value, which I think a lot of people in lockdown are struggling with. It's like, hey, before lockdown, I was really fit. I was, doing training 3-4 times a week. I was eating well. And then it's like, this is my highest value. And then now lockdown's kind of been preventing us from following through our values. That's where we start to feel, those negative mindset, or that like sadness, or feeling disappointed, or lack of self-belief. So I think, like you were saying, that once we start to get back into it, then, it's like, hold on, this is like me doing what I said I was going to do, and this is in line with what I value. So I think they come hand in hand as well. Yeah,
that is perfect. I think Bree is going to be super thankful for everything that you have put forward to her. She's got a lot to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, ladies. So I want to jump into our last scenario, which is a little bit different, but I think also a lot of people are in this situation. So here we have 23-year-old Anna. Anna was actually able to maintain her weight throughout lockdown, so it didn't change too much. She didn't go up, didn't go down. She was able to go on plenty of walks throughout it. She actually found a little bit of joy in that. She did workouts 2 to 3 times a week. She had bands and dumbbells at home, no barbells, anything like that. It was very simple workouts, but it was enough to make her feel good. She wants to keep feeling like they're making progress, like they're moving forward, but feels like they're putting in more effort than the progress is showing. Like she's like, I'm doing all this work. I'm working out 4 times a week. I'm doing the walks. I'm trying to eat healthy, but I just feel like there should be showing more, and I feel like there should be more results. So she eats very little, basically eggs, tuna, and chicken. So a lot of the white meats make up a lot of the diet, but binges on the weekends with friends, with their partner, and that's sort of where it starts to break down for her. So like it'll get to a Saturday and it's takeout or it's alcohol or it's whatever. And that seems to be a recurring thing over the weeks where she can't get out of that cycle. And Anna's feeling a little bit stuck because she's working so hard throughout the week that the weekends just come sort of crashing down. Weight is maintaining, but wants to see more. What can we do? Ayla, why don't you start us off?
I'm just smiling when listening to this because this sounds like 90% of the people that actually come to me. So I think it's a very, common, especially in that age bracket as well. But anyway, besides that, I think a lot of women in this situation do struggle with that. They do a lot of the band workouts, the light dumbbell workouts, and sure, that is great. Like, it's not completely dismissing that, because it's like, look, you're actually doing something. You've, started the process of training consistently, but it's like, hey, like, we can do better now. And it's like, at least you've got that foundation of training consistently. It's like, let's, push a little bit more. And I think that's where a lot of women in this situation will struggle, is because they're not having that actual structured program. They're not really, if we're talking about like principles of progressive overload, there's not much that you can do there with a band and some light dumbbells. Like, sure, you can change the tempos and maybe higher reps, but it's like, you do want to maximize building your strength and loading the weight. So it's like, let's start her on a program, because guaranteed she will see results in 2 weeks of actually just feeling a bit of difference. And it's like, hey, like, I've actually got something structured right now. This is what I need to do. But if it's like very sporadic, that's where I think a lot of people can have a bit of a downfall and crash. It's like, because I'm doing it and I'm like a bit random. I'm not really seeing the results there. Weekend comes and it's like, like, what's the point kind of thing. And then what you did mention as well with the nutrition side of things, not much variety, I guess, in the protein aspect to help her, I guess, build the muscle in the shape that she's probably after. I'm assuming like that's the kind of results that she wants to see. And usually if you are crashing or, overeating on the weekends or binging out frequently, you're probably not eating enough. So it might be worth addressing, what her eating habits are like on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, sure, it's healthy. I think that's where people get confused. Like, if I eat healthy, then that's fine. It's like, no, but are you eating enough? Are you eating too much? Are you at your maintenance? It's all about the quantity as well. Because you can put on weight eating healthy, you can lose weight putting healthy, and you can maintain. So I think it's just helping her understand where to start, or where she's at, and then where she needs to start. So, and then helping her have a structured program so the training and nutrition will go hand in hand. So she's eating enough to see the results, and then she's actually training the way that she needs to see those results. And I think once she sees the results, then she'll less likely, blow out on the weekends, is because, she's actually getting some reward in the end. And sure, like, people can still be socializing on the weekend, doesn't necessarily have to be detrimental to their result. But I think that little bit goes a long way for them to less likely, I guess, blow out or binge eat on the weekends, or, things like that. So I think just helping her understand those sorts of things to help her would be a good step.
So good. A lot of what you're saying there is, very much the messages that I want to bring across in this podcast, that, we can talk, and as coaches, we talk about this stuff, not necessarily because that's the kind of thing that we enjoy, but it's the things that we have found necessary to continue to improve, because let's be honest, I think that I can speak for all three of us, where we love talking about tempo. We love talking about technique form. We love talking about exercise and programming and reps and sets and volume and weight. And we love that side of things. You know, that's fun to us, you know, to be able to work out and actually muck around with and experiment with. But to be able to get to that point where you enjoy that side of things, that mental side of how you look at the gym and how you sort of what you're tracking and what sort of things you're putting, what sort of things you're putting into your body, those things need to be sort of accounted for. So I'll let you finish off this thought, Ayla. How do you approach, because, you know, you made a thing there, are they eating enough? You know, we'll never know. And she doesn't know, Anna doesn't know, we wouldn't know because, you know, she's not tracking. How do you tackle that with your clients as far as, you know, calories, and how do you make them all track through MyFitnessPal? Is it important for some people and not others? What sort of advice are you giving there to the general?
Yeah, that's a good point, because sometimes tracking can be overwhelming. So you need to like screen the client. I don't think tracking is forever. Some people actually love to track. That's their thing. However, I think if you have some sort of education around tracking your calories or understanding it for a little bit, it goes a long way in the future when you want to, I guess, intuitively eat or make better decisions. I think it is important from an educational point of view and empowering people to do that themselves. There should be like a little bit of time to just understanding that. Doesn't necessarily mean forever.
Mm-hmm.
However, in this case, I would then openly ask her, do you feel like you could potentially just track what you're eating for me for at least 1 to 2 weeks, so we can have a basis of, you know, what are you eating, and helping her understand. And a lot of people, once they start tracking, they become a bit more accountable. It's like, hold on, I didn't know that I was eating this much or not enough, and you know, it was healthy, but I didn't realize how many calories it might have had. So it just actually helps a lot of people from an educational point of view too, and helping them be a bit accountable. So I would openly ask her, do you think that you could do that for 2 weeks? She says, yes, great. Then I'll have a bit more data to play around with, to be like, okay, it looks like you're not really eating that much. So let's start here. Because I think as well, you need to educate the client about, you know, we can't, if you want to guesstimate, it will take a bit longer.
Yeah.
You know, if we can track a bit more, then we have a bit more data to actually make better judgments for you in the future. If someone is a bit overwhelmed with tracking or doesn't want to do that, then I guess asking her, you know, biofeedback questions like, how's your energy? How's your sleep? How's your stress? You know, things like that. And then maybe tracking her weight frequently throughout the week. And it's like, is it going up? Is it going down? And then basing that or comparing that with those biofeedback questions, and be like, okay, maybe it seems like you're not eating enough. Let's try a little bit more and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then actually explaining that too. Like, okay, we can do this way. We can do the tracking way. We'll probably get the information a lot quicker. If not, then this is another way we could potentially do. It might take a little bit lower, but this is what we can, longer, but this is what we can expect. Mm. So I think, yeah, just providing those options, and again, keeping the client accountable and making them choose what they see themselves doing.
Yeah.
Because there's no point of like, oh, I favor tracking, but the client's like, no, like they're completely frightened about it. And it's like, hold on, that's my method. I like it, but you know, what do they feel like they can do? And then you choose that and then build from there is how I would go about it.
Perfectly, really well said. Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, all of these, every decision you make there, whether it's tracking, whether it's guesstimating, whether it's using biofeedback, each one has their trade-off. You know, calorie tracking has the trade-off of, yeah, it's going to take a lot more time and you're going to have to be quite diligent as far as knowing what you're eating and how much of it you are eating. You know, and that's a huge trade-off for people. And then the guesstimation is like, yes, it's easier, but the trade-off is it's going to take longer to get the relevant data that we need so that we can actually help you, you know. So which trade-off are you willing, which trade-off do you want? Miranda, with someone in this situation, let's say we did find out and we were able to track or use biofeedback and find out, even though they were not losing weight, and that wasn't even necessarily their goal, but they don't want to gain weight. They have Anna has a big fear of sort of like putting on weight during that. What conversation are you having with her as regards to, with her food, how to increase her foods into a place where it's still healthy, to eliminate that fear of gaining weight if that is needed? How do you tackle that situation where you think personally that they are under eating from what you know?
It's just kind of having the conversation with her about her fears of why, a lot of whys around why is she fearful if she puts on weight? Like, why is it important to you if you put on weight? It's kind of targeting the issue front on and then creating like a routine for her. So I'm like, okay, for someone like me, I came from a background like that. I had a really bad eating disorder. I was tiny, and so I can kind of like understand a lot when I get girls like that, because I'm like, I've been there, I know how it feels, and it's just kind of like small baby steps out of it. So it's like finding a routine that's comfortable with them. It's including some safe foods for them that they're confident to try and increase their calories. It's like guiding them through. It's almost like kind of holding their hand throughout the process as well, and just explaining to them, like, our bodies are made for survival. Like, if we don't look after our bodies, if we don't fuel them, we don't nourish them, there's no way we can survive, because you're not giving it its like basic needs. You're taking away a lot from fear. So, we've got a whole heap of issues happening there. But, it's just honestly, it's monitoring them, it's guiding them, reassuring them, and just making little positive changes. So small steps. You don't want to go head on and be like, all right, well, we're going to increase your calories from this, like all the way up, because I don't know. Like, that
even
is
scares
just
you a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, that even scares me a little bit. Like, it's just full on. So it's just like, each week increasing their calories slowly, and they will start to feel like it's doing what it's supposed to do, because, you're adding a little bit more volume. Yeah. And so you can train harder in the gym. You want to get up and do stuff in the morning. It's changing like your whole energy and your outlook around food. And she'll get to a point where it's like, I feel really good. Like, okay, yeah, I ate a donut, but foods aren't good and bad. It's finding that relationship with yourself and the food, and making all food groups as one to you and not restricting yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
and using a lot of those tools, tracking is a tool to stay on top of that, but it's also a tool that can be abused, where you can eat whatever you want as long as it stays within the calories. And, I think that's a way that works for, it works for a lot of people, and it doesn't work for also a lot of people. So being able to bring that up, and also it's about, I think, especially in those early situations, it is about tracking some of those metrics, because for someone who is so scared of bringing up their weight and bringing up their food and eating more and feeling full and having probably more, because let's face it, at the end of the day, if that was a majority of their diet, where eggs, tuna and chicken and, greens, and just, they were trying so hard to keep it all white and all clean. When you bring in some of these other foods, if you bring in red meat, if you bring in more carbs like rices and potatoes and things like that, they are still extremely healthy. But for most of us, we will experience more bloating more often throughout that. That will become a part of the process, where your body won't always agree with food, and it'll feel like, even though it's not true, you'll feel like you've put on 3 to 5 kilos instead of, where it's just like a little bit of water weight, and it's just a little bit of, it's something that will come back down and will be normal. So I guess from that, I think it really depends on what foods you're sort of bringing in as well, and then being able to tie it back to the metrics and being like, look, we actually ate a lot more this week. We added a whole other meal. You added, some yogurt and a muesli bar and whatever else. And now look at the scales and look at your training. Like, everything's moving in the right direction. Everything's moving the way that we want it to, which means it's good for you. You know, it's going to go up and down. It is different from your baseline that you've created for yourself, but that's normal and that's healthy. And I think the more you go through that and you experiment with your body, whether it's through food or, you know, trying different supplements and buying JS health supplements, or going to the gym and trying different training things, all of these, you know, there's a million, they could all be right or they could all be wrong for your personal body. And there's no real way to say definitively that it works or doesn't work on you until you actually give it a try and you become very self-aware within your body, and you're able to actually look at it and be like, you know what, when I ate more this week, I actually felt worse. You know, I actually it didn't make me feel better. I felt more lethargic. I felt this. And then being able to come back and then discuss something like that with your coach, and being able to be very open and have that conversation, because we can talk, and as you can see, and as we're doing, we can talk about this stuff all day long and we can give advice all day long. But when it comes to the individual, when it comes to Anna herself, we can only help with what she tells us. You know, we can look at data and metrics, but a lot of this long-term wanting to feel good and feel strong and change the body and have that physique that, you know, we're really hoping for, that comes with, I guess, not being able to, it comes with having to understand your body more, and being able to like make decisions for your body because you've been through them, and you're able to now decide for yourself what's good and what's bad. So for the people at home, you know, they probably look at your social medias, and, you know, because, you know, I've even gotten in past, and you know, I think you would get it plenty, where you sometimes even get clients, they're like, I just want to look like you. Like, I just, that's really all I want. You know, I'm not looking for anything crazy. I'm not looking to be a bodybuilder. I just want to look like you. How do you frame that conversation? You know, what is different from what you guys are doing to the fitness influencers, to the normals? How do you gauge that situation? How do you bring them down to a point where it's realistic for them and they feel confident that what they're going for and what they're trying to achieve is achievable, but not also setting them up for not being able to do something their body just wouldn't be able to do? Miranda.
All right, so I get this a fair bit. And it's literally just having the conversation of, like, each and every one of us, each individual, our body they're all different. They're not supposed to look the same. And, you know, I've been in sport since I was really little, so I've always had an athletic build. So for me, training and everything, it just comes really easy for me, whereas other people, they've got a different genetic build. Like, and it's like, we always want something we can't have either. Like, I look at girls with, like, nice hips, thicker legs. I'm like, I'd kill to have thick legs, and then I have to bring myself back down. I'm like, genetically, I can't. And it's like, it's learning to love the body that you're in, what it's capable of doing, and just giving them the realistic approach of, you are the best version of you. And it's, you know, if you can do something that you haven't done before, that's already like a huge tick for you. So it's just like bringing them down to a realistic level and be like, you know, if you put in the hard work, your body will look the best version of you.
Yep.
And
And that is the most important thing. And, you know, I think that was a lesson that, you know, going through bodybuilding and being within that community really helped me properly understand, where, you know, when you look at your body and you're looking in the mirror and you're posing and you're doing anything like that, of course, there's always going to be that little thing in the back of your mind where it's like, oh, I want to look like a certain person, and that's like my dream body, and it's so okay to have that. But when you're actually looking at you and you're looking in the mirror and you're looking at your fat and you're touching it and you're pushing it out and you're doing all of those things, you should be looking at what can you do for your body? You know, like what changes can I make that's going to change my body, and visualizing your best body, not imagining your head on another person's physique.
Yeah.
You should be looking at what is your body truly capable of. And that's a hard thing to do, especially if you've never actually seen the capabilities of what your body is. And Ayla, why I wanted to come to you second is because you're actually on the journey to competing, and I want to know a little bit about that. I want to know how you're feeling. I want to know some advice that you'd be able to give for anyone else that's even looked at it and thought about it.
Yeah, I think coming down to that question, people wanting to look a certain way, it can be tackled in a fair few ways, I think. Like, yes, acknowledging you're only going to grow to your genetic potential. This is if you're not taking anything, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge thing to address first and foremost, is like, you will only grow to your genetic potential. Embrace it. Yes, you can program to target, you know, potentially your shoulders more, add more volume there, or your glutes or your quads or whatever that may be. But it's like embracing what you will achieve genetically first and foremost. Secondly, I think whether it's bodybuilding or just, you know, general population, or just someone going to the gym and they say, I want to look this way. It's like, okay, that's great. They use someone's body as body goals, but it's like, what is their lifestyle? Would you exchange that lifestyle for that trade-off? Like, it's being realistic, because people that are bodybuilders, that's extreme. That's like day in, day out. You're really trying to optimize those things.
It's a lifestyle.
100%, you're going to get that result, and that it requires a high level of discipline and loneliness as well. Like, no one's doing it for you, you're doing it for yourself, and you're the one putting in the effort, and it will, I think, come down to a lot of compromising as well that you're going to be missing out on. It's like, and people don't understand that, because especially on social media, it's like being fit is like the bodybuilding world. I have to look like that. And that's what the idea of what their, I guess, body goals are. And it's like, but look at their lifestyle.
Yes.
Would you exchange that? What is your values right now? What is important to you? Do you value your family, going out on the weekends, having time with your friends, you know, whatever that may be? And it's like reverse engineering from that. It's like, okay, how can we fit what you envision as fit and healthy, or your body goals, into your lifestyle? And it's not, I think that's where I think a lot of people get confused and overwhelmed. It's like, I'm doing all this, but I don't look like her. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, on social media, it's edited, it's Photoshop, it's the posing, you know, and that can be, I guess, disappointing, especially for, I'm sure men experience this too, but just from the clients that I've had, that they're like, oh, I wish I had glutes like her. But a lot of it as well is like, sometimes it's just fat, like where your fat disposes genetically. That's where it just like looks rounder, and it's like not necessarily. Yeah, so it's just, I think it comes down to education and helping them understand, yes, this is, you can only achieve your genetic potential. What do you value? What is important to you? And working around a schedule that fits around that, essentially. And and especially when it comes to the bodybuilding, I do realize, like, as I was getting closer to it, I reckon I think the WBFF got cancelled maybe 8 weeks out or so. I was like prepping, and it was getting a little bit challenging, because I'm like, I was comparing to other women, like, oh, my legs aren't that big, my glutes aren't that big. And it is hard, I'm not going to lie and just say it wasn't. But, you know, it's like, you can only do the best that you can do. I think that's important. And, you know, going through the prep in itself is challenging. Like, it's not for everyone, but you did it, like, you're doing it. And that's what's important to you. And that's how I kept kind of reassuring myself. And it's like, you know what, if, let's just say I get out on stage and, you know, I don't win the pro card. It's like, okay, what can I learn from that, and how can I do better next year with my coach to improve that? And I think a lot of people do get overwhelmed that they have to, like, winning is important, of course, but it's like, it's, if you don't win, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a failure where you have to stop. Like, what can you learn from that? A lot of people give up as soon as things don't go their way.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think there's so many lessons to be learned. Yeah.
It's valuing the process within it as well, because it's like, you know, you're not going to like build all this like nice muscle in your first prep. So it's like, okay, I'm going to trust the process. I built like a decent like physique this prep. Off season, I'm going to like really strive to do the best I can. And then it's just coming back into your second prep and it's like, right, first prep, I look like that. And now look at me now. So it's just like really just comparing yourself to the process rather than other people.
100%.
I love that.
I think,
go on.
I was just going to say, I think as well, what I've learned, I don't know if this is necessarily a bad thing, but with the federation that I'm doing, it's not like, you know, everyone has to look the same. There's a category, but they embrace who's like best on the day. So I think that was kind of reassuring for me, because like, if you look at the pro card winners, like, let's just say, because I was doing fitness category. Yeah. Some had big shoulders, some were a bit little, some had bigger glutes or quads, and then some were, you know, smaller. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do what I can and show up best on the day, like deliver my best package and see what happens there. So that was kind of reassuring as well, because it wasn't like a very strict bodybuilding.
One
it's
fits
more
all.
like exactly.
That's awesome, and I'm super excited for you, Ayla. And I think when is the postponed date?
So I will be doing again next October. I figured, you know, me, coach, Tim, we started prep around this time when gyms actually started to open, and we're like, okay, now we're going to set the 1 year-ish plan for comp. And then me and him and I really achieved a lot in 1 year. And I'm like, so I wasn't too disappointed when it got cancelled. I'm like, imagine another year of prepping for another October show.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just excited. Yeah.
Such an amazing mindset to have. You know, it can really go either way in those situations. And it's good to hear that you're excited to see what you are capable of in that time, because once you have that timeline, and I think that's something that has helped with me in the past, is, you know, sometimes I genuinely need like a competition, or, you know, like a comp or a challenge or something, and a date and a structure ahead of me, and, you know, to achieve my biggest potential and to actually get the most out of it. So, you know, I think that is super important, and a great lesson to sort of be left off on. So I want to finish this up, and I finish this by asking pretty much the same question to my guests, and this one's going to be directed at Ayla, because I have asked this to Miranda already. But for everyone out there that is listening and is just determined to be the strongest version of themselves, what's your one piece of advice?
Like, there's so much I could say, but I think what it all can kind of come down to is you need to become the person that you want to be. It's not about, you can't be the same and achieve a different result, right? You need to be able to let go of who you are, so in order to become who you want to be. And I think that's where a lot of people will get long-lasting results, whether it's strength, transformation in their mindset or bodies or whatever it may be. It's actually becoming the person who they envision, and, you know, having that belief and being able to let go of the person and the identity that they are currently, because you can't, or else it's conflicting, right? You can't achieve X results if you're still the same person. And it's okay to let go, and it's okay to improve and change. You don't have to be the way that you are because it's been this way for 20 years,
And you
if
feel
that makes sense.
pigeonholed.
So I think, Yeah, I think a lot of people think, that they can't change. I think everyone has the potential to change if they really want to, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Embrace it. There's so much to develop, and there's so much you can be doing to constantly improve. You don't have to be stagnant and be the same way. But if you want to, that's fine. But I genuinely love talking to the people who get this message. They know what I'm talking about, and they understand that in order to achieve that result, they need to become that person and be someone that you identify as this person, and start to value those things like health and fitness and whatever that may be, so that your identity is not clashing. You are doing the things that you actually value, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't do them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Beautiful.
Well said. I'm so happy I got you on here. You spoke so well. I think you helped Bree and Anna extremely a lot. I think they're gonna be really thankful for that. And yeah, I appreciate you so much for coming on board, Ayla. And we didn't even get through everything that I wanted to today. So this will not be the last one, I hope. And I will definitely love to have you back on.
I'd definitely love to be on here again. It was great. Thank you so much.
No worries.
I really appreciate you reaching out to me.
No, anytime. Honestly, like keep up the content that you've been doing. I genuinely believe it's helping the people out there that want it. So keep it up. Super happy to have you on board. I appreciate it. Ayla, I will speak to you soon. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you. Should I hang up?
Awesome. So I just wanted to finish this off with Miranda, because we do also, in light of all the podcasting and everything else, we have some exciting news for ourselves as well. Why don't I let you take it away, Miranda?
All right. So it's been extremely pleasant to work with you, Karl, for one. Obviously, lockdowns have been quite harsh, and I stepped away from the fitness world for a little bit, and then I came back, and I just, I don't know why I left for, because I'm truly and deeply passionate about it, and it's so good to work with someone that has the same kind of level of ideas and an idea around the whole fitness world like yourself. So it's been really nice to kind of work with you. So we've been quite busy, and we've developed a 6-week challenge for everyone coming out of lockdown, just to give a little bit of a head start for everyone to kind of get the ball rolling again, and educate on how it is important to love our bodies and every aspect of it. And yes, we did put on a few kilos over lockdown, but that's fine. And it's just being the best version of you. And it's just getting everyone back into that headspace of loving their bodies again and getting them working. Because, we've all been stuck in our house for how many hundreds of days now. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I'm so excited for this challenge. This isn't my first one, and it's so cool to have someone else on board to not just share that load, but to bring something more to it that, as an individual coach, it's very hard to bring for anyone, so being able to do this in a way where there's just so much more involved, there's more accountability. We have a new app. We've got pretty much all the systems that we have been working on during this lockdown and been thinking about and conversing and, just talking the talk. We're finally able to bring it out there, show it to the people, and hopefully take these next 6 weeks to change how everybody's feeling. So please, if this has helped at all, if this podcast has helped, have a look at it. It's in both of our Instagram bios, which I can put up later. The questionnaire is here. And I would really love it for you to have a bit of a look, think about it, and see if you want to work with us and if that's something that would work well for you, because we would love to work with you, and especially going through some of the scenarios we did today, I think that will be super important for people. So I am super, super excited for that. Super excited to
Same.
work together.
You
Awesome.
too.
Beautiful. All right, Miranda, we will leave it there. Thank you again so much for jumping on board. This definitely won't be the last one, and we will be definitely
Thanks for having
speaking
me.
and going on soon.
Thank you.
No worries. All right, I'll speak to you
Right.
later, Miranda. You have an awesome day.
You too.
See you later.
Bye.